last one here. Dig deep, dig deep. Let's be the winning lottery ticket.
What? I don't know what's in there.
Surely these are for Jade.
I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
John was my husband. I met him in 1996. No, sorry, 1995 even. And we got married in 1996 and you came along in 1997. And we got together because we worked well in the pub. He had a pub at the time, so that's where I met him. And he was very good at front of house and I was very good at running the bar.
I used to love going fishing with him because he used to tell me a lot of lies. It's times like, you know, when we've been to Ireland, like, you know, and he was a good fisher. Well, probably still is, like, you know, but a good fisherman. But he didn't have some luck with him as well, and he knew that. And there's plenty of times where we were fishing.
Yeah.
I've seen his rod bent over, like, you know, and he's like sort of sat there, like, you know, doodling away, like, you know. And I was shouting to him, "You rod, you rod." "Yeah, no, I'm just letting it catch itself like that." "Oh, yeah." And then at the end of the day, like, you know, it gets down to it, like, you know, pulls it in, and it's biggest fish at day.
He was my big brother, so basically I've known him all my life. I suspected it for a while before he actually came out and said he had cancer. And he just said he had lumps in his stomach. And that to me suggested cancer.
He was diagnosed in the June-July time of 2007. But he'd been saying he'd been losing weight since Christmas. But he'd put a lot of weight on. He was extra heavy at the time. He was about 22 stone. So he'd gone on what he thought his chocolate diet and was really pleased he said, I'm losing weight. But at the time, to get from 22 stone to 18 stone, for instance, you didn't really see an awful lot of difference. It was only when he got to about 17 or 18 that you could start to see something had happened.
I would say John was my best friend. I don't have many close friends, but we got really quite close over a short period of time. He was always up for a laugh. He was a great guy. He'd do out for anybody, but he made sure that he wasn't he wouldn't stitch himself up or anything like that. He'd make sure that there was something in it for him. He's a good guy, wise guy, if you like, in that respect.
One was esophageal cancer, and the tumour was on the opening to the stomach, so they took the stomach out and they attached his small bowel to his esophagus, and he went forward with that. And then, just as he was going back to work, they found that he had cancer of the peritoneum, which is the gland over the bowel. And you can maintain life with that, but you can't cure it.
The nurse rang, and because she didn't have the cordless phone at the time, it was just start of December, and you answered, and I told you Dad was too comfortable to come to the phone because he couldn't get up out of the chair. And that's what you relayed to the nurse. And the following week I bought a cordless phone with an answer phone, and so you didn't have to answer those questions for him.
What I take is that I realised that he was not his usual self, like, you know. It's like I say, he was a good fisherman, and mind you, on saying that, right up until the end, he still outdid me every time. Because he was really good. He showed me a lot.
I was brought up on All Our Yesterdays, which is all to do about World War II, and there's episodes there about when they found the Jews in the camps, and they were skin and bone and walking skeleton. Well, your father was a walking skeleton. They reckoned at the time that he'd gone down to just under 5 stone in weight, and being 6'4", that's quite something.
He was literally flesh, skin on bone. There was no flesh to him. He'd lost every bit of weight he had. And for a guy that was overweight before the cancer, he would be, nowadays he would be classed as obese. And he'd lost all that weight when he lost his stomach, but he kept losing the weight afterwards because of the secondary cancer. That's when they knew that it was there.
Never give up though, you know, and I can't believe that John managed to go on as long as he did. That's one of his endearing charms, I suppose. He was stubborn, you know, he wouldn't give up on anything.
Originally it was a year, and then they said he wouldn't make it till Christmas, and being your dad being stubborn and pig-headed, he made it until Boxing Day because he thought he'd die beginning of September.
He was just there, but he wasn't there, if you know what I mean. It was quite distressing, but he obviously wasn't in any pain or anything like that. We had a conversation, whether he could hear me or not, I don't know. But he was just, if you like, asleep in the bed.
He drifted into unconsciousness, which is what the pathway is.
I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you.
Hello.
We got a telephone call, you and I, about just after 10:30 from the hospice on the Sunday evening, Boxing Day night.
I think it was Jane who told me. It's probably that same day.
Jane gave us a ring. I think it was on the day after Boxing Day, because he died on Boxing Day, didn't he? So it was the day after Boxing Day that Jane let us know that John had passed. And it was kind of expected it was going to happen sooner or later. I think I appreciated the fact that we'd had, you know, like Boxing Day as our family day before finding out.
Your mum told me on the 27th, morning of 27th, she tried to contact me Boxing night if I wanted to go in, but I just didn't answer the phone. And she told me the following morning that he'd gone.
In a way, it was like somebody just knocked the wind out of you. Because you know you've lost it. There's no way back from that. That you've lost a really good friend. But on the other side of it, it's kind of being realistic and said, you know, thank God for that. God rest his soul, really, because he couldn't suffer anymore from that.
I'd rather he was dead than carried on that kind of suffering, because it was past the point where it would have been. You knew that he could recover from it, and he was past the point where he was having difficult communicating, and because of the meds, they were doping him up so much. He was literally slowly going away. Anyway, so it was me trying to focus on what he was, not what he became.
In terms of mental health, the only thing I've ever suffered with is I can no longer cry. Just occasionally, if I watch something that's really cute on Britain's Got Talent or something, you get little bits of tears, but I can't cry, so I get very frustrated and cross instead. And that's been assessed and checked out, and that's perfectly normal. It will take something far worse than what I saw and went through to cry again.
It helps you put a bit of perspective on life in general, makes you appreciate what you've got. Because you, obviously somebody who's close to you like that, when their life comes to an end, you have to face it, you have to accept it. But it affected me for a way, it still affects me now. My family were off to work and off to school every day, so I had quite a lot of time to ponder it on my own. And while you're doing your ironing, you know, and things like that. And you think about things like that. And it was an emotional sort of event in my life anyway. And there were times where, you know, you feel like just screaming and say, well, you know, why is this fair? How can that be fair? But you have to carry on. And it fades over time.
Yeah, I'd say I was depressed for quite a while afterward, but I made an effort to make sure I didn't let that show, because Jane didn't need the extra pressure on, and you definitely didn't. You both had a hard time coping, and you cope. Best of all, you cope with each other. You helped each other.
He did the dirty on me. He said, because he told me specifically. I said, "Where do you want them spreading out?" He said, "Everywhere." Well, of course, it was January. We did it on the day of me and Dave Moss did it on the day of his birthday. The wind was blowing all around us like a gale, and the water was up, so it was really high. And trying to get round the reservoir without falling in, and sprinkling ashes, because there was an awful lot of them. It was it became completely hilarious. And then when we got back to the car, we think both Dave Moss and I decided that we had quite a fair proportion stuck all over us as well. So we were both laughing.
But yeah, it was almost like I think it's what John would have wanted. He sort of lived and breathed Turk's Head and what have you. He loved the place. So yeah, and sometimes when we've been fishing up there as well, and I'm struggling, I give him a whisper. They come on, you know, where am I going wrong? What's next? How do you get a bite from here? You do still. I still feel that, you know, that in general, that not obviously in a spiritual point of view, but you do feel that he's part and parcel of the environment they loved. So it's good.
It's hard, but you've got to remember you're living for them as much as yourself. Your perception changes over time, that they're not missing out on something. They would have enjoyed it. They would have laughed. They would have played practical jokes. You've got to remember them as they were, not as they become, because the cancer can change their personalities as much as depression can change your own. So you've got to keep ticking until you get past that point, because you will eventually get past the depression, and past the loss, into acceptance, and basically showing that they would have loved that. They keep remembering him as the happy person, or the practical joker, or the bully, or whatever they were. You remember them in the state, the best of them, and try to remember that was my dad, that was my brother. You remember them as they were, not as they become.